So families, after the Nigerian government was able to secure the release of the kidnapped Orire government students and teachers, and after the whole, celebration mood and everything.
After 56 days in captivity, all the abducted pupils and teachers from 3 schools in Orire local government area of Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, are finally free.
President, sir, we are grateful. We understand your commitment to our safety, and we appreciate all you did for us. You could see in your hands. Thank you very much. And every security operative, they tried so much, and that is why we are still alive now. We are very grateful unto you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The celebrations say it all.
All right, you're back. All right, congratulations. Welcome. Congratulations. Life attacking roundabout. This is the rescue team. Congratulations. Our military congratulations.
The Oyo State government has now come out to call for international investigation and verification into the circumstances behind the abduction and the release.
The circumstances surrounding this incident are sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny beyond our domestic institutions. I therefore, with a full sense of responsibility as the Executive Governor of Oyo State, call on the appropriate international human rights and accountability mechanisms, including those within the United Nations system, to closely examine the facts surrounding this abduction and the circumstances of its resolution. Such scrutiny is not intended to undermine our institutions. Rather, it is intended to reinforce public confidence that the truth will be established and that every person found to bear responsibility, regardless of office, influence, or affiliation, will be held accountable. Under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the primary responsibility for national security rests with the federal government and the security agencies under its command. The Nigerian people, therefore, deserve a full and transparent account of what happened, who was responsible, whether there were institutional failures, negligence, or collusion at any level, and what measures must now be taken to ensure that no community is ever subjected to such an ordeal again. This is not about politics. It is about justice for the victims, reassurance for our people, and restoring public confidence that every Nigerian child can go to school without fear.
How the international organization, how they might be able to discover and uncover who did or who did not, participate in the kidnapping, if it was political or not. I don't know if there are any investigative team on the planet that can discover and uncover what just happened. But that is not the main thing. The Oyo State governor himself said, and I quote, that before the kidnapping, before the abduction happened, that he declared his presidential ambition, and hours after he declared his presidential ambition, the kids and the school kids and the principal were kidnapped.
I declared to run for the presidency of Nigeria at 4 o'clock. And by 9 a.m. the following morning, the children were abducted. We're still feeling through. For 7 years, we didn't witness anything like this in Oyo State.
Now, this is where it gets very, very dark, because this kidnapping was not some kabuki theater. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 teachers got unalived. The mathematics teacher, and even not just these individuals. There were onlookers when the kidnapping was taking place. Rest in peace to those brothers. They were neutralized. And the theatrics behind how the math teacher was neutralized was devastating. Ladies and gentlemen, it was something from the textbook, which page we will never want to open again. But now the Oyo State government has made this cry. A lot of people are giving independent opinion as to who is to be blamed, but we can't independently verify if any of those opinion is valid. But everybody has the right to their opinion. Now, the Senate has already responded to this allegation and this call by the Oyo State government. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to what the House of Senate has to say.
That was the most unstatesmanly. He was carrying partisan politics too far, and this Senate should condemn his unguided statement. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. When we wake up and call on foreign authorities to investigate, this is one case in which our armed forces have shown that without paying ransom, even if it meant that these children and some of the elders had to be in captivity for almost 2 months, that the armed forces were working quietly to have these rescue operations, which, as well captured in this motion, led to some loss of life. To trivialize it, to suggest, as the governor of Oyo State seems to have done, that there is something that is not open, that the UN needs to unearth the circumstances, is to question the sovereignty of our nation and to downplay the achievement of the commander-in-chief, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all the service chiefs and in fact all those involved in this process. I think that there's a moment in the history of a nation when across party divide we should stand in unison to commend what has happened, the way in which people were released, and to encourage the armed forces to build on it, that they should extend and get more gadgets. It's not possible for them to share with us some of the things they did. Like I heard, they were able to identify the guys, arrest some of their relatives, etc., etc. These are not details that we're interested in. Very good point. But I want us to resolve that
thank you.
The
Wonderful
governor of Oyo State should not be seen as downplaying, undermining, and politicizing an issue in which ought to be something that the whole nation, across party divide, should start in unison to commend our armed forces for what they have accomplished on this occasion.
Thank you very much. We now yield the floor to
Thank you, Mr.
Senator.
President.
Okay, now looking at the position of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Oshiomhole said that this is going to have a way of inflicting even more grace and shambles on the image of the country that is not really looking too shiny out there. What do I think about this? I think whatever the Oyo State governor is calling out for right now is campaign after election. In my opinion, he might be right. His suspicions might be valid. Everything he's suspecting might be true. It might be politically instigated. But, ladies and gentlemen, whatever investigation you are trying to launch now would not bring back the life of the math teacher, the onlookers, the other teacher that was neutralized right in the school. It won't bring them back. The vigilantes that got neutralized, the Amotekun personnel that got neutralized, the Nigerian security personnel that got neutralized days after the kidnapping happened, it won't bring them back. When Sunday Igboho said he wanted to enter the Oyo National Park, the question we have to ask from Governor Seyi Makinde is, why did you tell him to back off? Why did you impose curfew at the time? Even though you lifted the curfew, why did you stop those urgent rescue measures? Ladies and gentlemen, a lot needs to be, a lot of questions need to be answered by Governor Seyi Makinde. Because again, you called it a local government. How come there was no, according to the information we had, there was no network signal in that location, and it's a local government. According to further report, they said the place is not motorable. You can't go there with your vehicle. You know, the thing is, we might look at this situation and be like, okay, you know, this allegation, the way he's calling on international community and all of that, it kind of, but the truth is, when you look at everything that Governor Seyi Makinde have done, the way he handled the Suri Lupeju situation, you know, the way he has been going after the political detractors, it casts a lot of shadow on his own image too. Regardless of what happened, we have to appreciate the federal government. Even if this whole scenario looks shady, a lot of people are saying that the kidnapped children looked, you know, even better than some of us that live at home. They are so clean. When they came out, you know, I mean, we saw some pictures where, you know, I looked at the morphological details in those pictures that was released some days after the kidnapping. According to information, they said they were already totally pulverized to the point that, you know, some of them might not even survive. But when these kids came out, they don't look like it. The disparity is so wide. They were looking so, the complexion, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen people that have been released with this type of, with this type of circumstance. Ladies and gentlemen, they could not even walk when they came out from the vehicle. These people were dancing, they were celebrating, they were dancing. Now, there are some information that does not align. The security chief, the representative of the Nigerian General Staff, he said that he said there were drones that were deployed over the Oyo National Park. He said they could not see anything with the drones. He said they had to launch a ground operation because the drone could not see anything. He said even when they launched the ground operation, you hardly can see anything because it's extremely dark. That said, that is very, very sensible comment, because when you look at the drone footage, you know, the forest belt is so, is so tangled. The trees are so proximal, right? But the woman came out and said, that's the main, the chief of the kidnapped victims, the principal, said that they were always kept in the open.
It was not easy. We were in the forest, in the open, most of the time, under the sun, under the rain, with the children. But we kept going because there was no way out. We knew it's God that could only help us.
She said that they were always kept in an open space inside that forest. Now, if they were kept in an open environment inside that same forest, how come the drone did not spot them? That aside, all right, let's say they were beyond the vicinity of the military encirclement, but the military security chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces said that they completely surrounded the environment and there was no outlet. In fact, they went further to say that the logistic route that will supply the capabilities, that will supply food and all of that for the, for the kidnappers was completely shut out. So if it was completely shut out and you had reconnaissance UAVs scrambled in the sky, those iron birds, you should be able to spot them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most shambolic case ever. But for the people that were released, we're so grateful for their lives. At least they were rescued. But whatever Governor Seyi Makinde is now calling for right now is valid and it's not valid. It's valid in the sense that this would bring some sort of notification to this type of plot, because this type of engineering is new. We have not seen this level before, or maybe it has been happening but it has been underreported. Because now, what type of political atmosphere are we getting into? If now the currency, the bargaining chip, and now is no longer currency but civilians, because people were killed. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the worrying aspect of this. If there are any investigative team that can get to the bottom of it, fine. But the position of the Senate is also valid, that this will harm the image of the country. The image of the country is already, So ladies and gentlemen, in my own opinion, I appreciate the Nigerian government for securing the release of these people. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say about this. I think the Oyo State governor's position is valid, but again, it is campaign after election. Governor Seyi Makinde, you have already harmed your own image. You've harmed your own position. You've done everything negative leading up to this release. So whatever you are calling for right now does not really hold enough traction to sell, if that is the aim. So ladies and gentlemen, you can kindly give us your opinion on what you think about the situation. It's your boy 7200 signing out and said. But before I go, ladies and gentlemen, there is a situation that just happened in Mali. The Malian armed forces were ambushed. A lot of script has been written about this ambush, but later today I am going to bring the information to you and we are going to break it down and let's pick out the sense and the nonsense in it. Thank you and God bless you.
Iṣẹ́ Olúwa ju tàfà lọ.